The Newhalen Cultural Heritage Project was made possible by the Newhalen Tribal Council, who received a grant from Alaska Federation of Natives through the Alaska Rural Systemic Initiative. The Newhalen Tribal Council, Newhalen School, and the National Park Service worked collectively towards discovery and preservation of cultural resources of this area. These grants allowed students to survey ancient village archaeological sites and collect oral and pictorial histories. This video represents the second year of the Newhalen Cultural Heritage Project done by the Newhalen High School. It depicts archaeological fieldwork done in the fall of 1999. We concentrated our efforts mainly on a site registered as ILI 107. This site was discovered just across the stream about 50 meters from site ILI 105. We had help from two United States Park Service representatives, Dale Vinston, an archaeologist from Katmai and Lake Clark, and John Branson, a historian from Lake Clark National Park. While working at ILI 107, we collected various data adding to and differing from last year's effort. We found out that there were two different cultures that inhabited ILI 107.
Beautiful chalcedony, gray chert, greenish chert. Okay. So by transect, we just made a controlled walkthrough so that we locate everything. And when we spread out and then just beyond fingertips or so in a line, and we'll all march that direction. I'm going to stay in the middle, and every time we find something new, I'll flag it and give it a number.
A transect is when we form into a straight line and walk from one end of the site to the other, flagging all possible features along the way. We stood approximately 3 feet away from each other and walked one direction so that we would not miss any of the features or get lost.
The reason that we did this was to locate and flag all of the site features for future mapping teams. The types of features that we flagged include possible cache pits and houses.
The bugs are pretty thick, so now we're all set to start mapping. I think we won't do any mapping till tomorrow, but what we will do is we will take a tape measure and we will stretch it to the next feature, and then we'll use the compass and get an angle, and we'll use the protractor and the scale. You'll be amazed, you guys will be good mappers after about an hour of doing this. Just call this one corner. This will be one wall along here, so Brooke, why don't you measure out to this point where I'm standing? We'll say this is paper and drafting tools for depicting reality on our paper. We can move the other stakes, but we want to keep this one in place. This one will stay here. So we can set up the compass, or the compass tripod, so it's just above the stake. That way we're originating from the same point. So that's pretty close. And then, you see this bubble? Mm-hmm. We want to get everything perfectly level. So there's a little screw under here. You can loosen that. And you also can, be over the point, and looking at her, she can shoot at your center line from your nose down. So if she shoots at your center line, she'll know she's right at the point. So what you want to do now, is sight through here. So you go through here, these two holes, and look right at her center line, and we'll have to make sure that stays level. We'll go there. 346.
Yes! This is 12.35, John. $9.85.
9.85?
The best scale to use is, this is 1 inch. 1 inch equals 10 meters. And that means that each of these little squares equals 1 meter. And it just so happens that on this scale, each each one of these is the same as this. So one dot, one square or one line here equals 1 meter. Okay.
That's good enough on that feature, I think. I mean, unless you think you see an entryway, it's kind of hard to tell.
How come this doesn't look right? It's an awfully long entry.
Well, what's the distance they gave you? 22 point?
23.
Well, that's what it looks like.
What is that? No, what is that?
Corner.
So from this corner to that corner, then to that corner, then that corner? Go ahead. 230?
Oh, I got 2 points.
When we finished mapping, we decided to do a test hole in both Feature 1 and the Denana house that we found. A 50 by 50 centimeter square hole was dug mainly where the hearth would have been.
Don't go down there. Get just under here is fine. That actually you're going too long.
A test hole is a small hole dug usually near the center of a feature to test the feasibility of a full-scale dig by finding carbon for dating. The hearth contains charcoal, which can be used for radiocarbon dating. Also, bones or tools may be found and help identify what they ate and more about the way they lived. In the hole done in Feature 1, we found small knots of black organics, which may contain charcoal. We also found numerable flakes, a beautiful AST point, and a bead.
I like dug it up, that's really cool.
I know. Put it in your hand so you can get it. And you might want to clean it off so you can see the hole.
Here, lick it, Jason.
What was interesting about the bead and the arrowhead was that they were found at a certain level, so we can estimate how old they are by the depth in relation to our carbon samples.
It looks stone. Stick stuff in my mouth. Hold on a second, let me get up my hand maps here. Well, I thought when you said that, it's like suddenly threw all my ideas into chaos. If this is historic period, why is there a, couldn't be Norton? But this might not be. It might be old. It's not very round. And the hole's off center. It only has one tiny little trowel cut mark in it. I don't know. I think it's native manufacture. I don't think it's
Like a trade bead.
You know exactly where it came from?
Right in here. No. Right there.
What is it?
It's a little skimmed bifacial point.
What is that?
Cool.
Can you pick it up?
No, not yet. Actually, you knocked it out of place already, so it's not really in its original position.
Stuff in here.
Yeah, so clear down to that.
Oh, okay.
Theoretically, when you dig down over there, you're going to hit the gravel.
Okay, so we just want to level it out.
Here, I'll map it in.
One of our tasks was to plot the horizontal, vertical, and depth locations of artifacts within a test hole. Data then could be compared to the soil sampling and stratigraphy that was done on the completion of the test hole.
The most striking difference between sites 105 and 107 is the house in ILI 107 that John Branson discovered, which he claimed to be a Denina Athabascan house. Dale and John said it was exactly like the Denina houses at Keechik on Lake Clark. Of the 30 houses of 71 features that we mapped in ILI 107, one house was totally different. It looked out of place or like it didn't belong. It had a shallower floor, was multi-roomed, and more rectangular. The Denina house was well cut and preserved and intricate, with added rooms and a possible steam bath. It was among all of the older Northern culture houses, which was strange because we found only one Denina house in all.
There's a corner here.
It's much more like shape. You can see the uniformity of shape.
Entry. There's always a lot of times a side room on one end, and a lot of times a banya or a steam bath at the other end. And it's different from the other houses, and I think this is much more recent and definitely associated. It looks like the houses in Kijik and the Russian River and other places where there's Denina Athabascan settlements. So it's kind of neat. So it shows there's probably at least two periods of occupation here.
Central car pit. This is typical of what we find in Egypt, where the trees seem to grow because of the charcoal from the fires.
It would be nice to try one test hole here and then one in another selected house that we think might be north.
Okay. It's an interesting question. John says he thought that these were made like log cabins with rafters and roofs and stuff, but if a log cabin collapsed here, you'd think there'd be more organics and stuff.
This is cool.
Okay. What did we think that was?
It's a rodent tooth, probably a beaver or a marmot.
In the Denina house test hole, we found large amounts of charcoal and some animal bones, including, after examination, what we think is a porcupine tooth. Yeah, you can read it. Huh. Okay. The charcoal looked much more recent and definite than any of the carbon found in the Norton houses. We found chunks of charcoal that you could still see the wood fiber in.
One thing that Doug Rieger from the State Office of Archaeology showed us, and we noticed it on Kijik down on the Kenai River, is that where there's a big house that has a big fire pit and a banya in the back, there's often a pile of burned rock outside the front door. So I haven't looked around for a little low mound of rocks. So they were coming out here and taking the rock from the banya, and they pile it right outside the front door. All rock and stuff, yeah. Just a little mound of. So when they're their banya or their steam bath, they get full of rock, they just take it out here and throw it away.
Cool.
11.5 the highest level. That's what you want to call it.
We recently received the carbon dating from the lab. Feature B5, the Denina house, dates 610 plus or minus 40 years before present. That would be AD 1290 to 1415 on our calendar. This is an early but believable date for Denina house in this area.
We took a one-day trip up to ILI 106, which is much more difficult to get to. It contained AST artifacts in the road cut just like the other two sites. This made us believe that the same earlier people inhabited all the sites. 106 contains hundreds of cache pits above a pool in the river where red salmon stage up before tackling large rapids. We did some mapping on a bench above the area covered with cache pits. We mapped a total of 6 houses. These houses were immensely different than those at the 2 other sites. The houses were very long and rectangular and all parallel to each other. In addition, the cache pits seemed to be much more recently used than those at 105 and 107. We did a test hole in one of the houses. We found no artifacts, but the earth was extremely black with organics. According to Dale, it was a cultural layer. It is very puzzling. It doesn't match the other sites we have examined.
While working on site ILI 107, we furthered our knowledge about the cultures that inhabited the area. The majority of the features mapped were the Norton culture, which is approximately 1,000 to 3,000 years old. However, we are awaiting results from the radiocarbon dating which will reassure our approximation. The Dena'ina Athabascan culture was believed to have inhabited the area approximately 600 years ago. This estimate was confirmed through radiocarbon dating. One of the most important parts of the undertaking was integrating the community and culture into the school's agenda. This project has elements of almost every part of our school's curriculum. Planning is underway for a possible excavation of the sites and preservation of cultural resources. Finally, this whole experience has had meaning to our communities and us as students.